as the Cornhuskers start their quest for a third straight title against the rejuvenated Michigan State. They carry the sadness and inspiration of a fallen comrade. The Syracuse scramble for success opens with headliner Donovan McNabb as the Orange meet North Carolina for an evening at the Improv.
They call him Mr. Cool, Mr. Fantastic, Mr. this, Mr. that, and we just call him Mr. Joker.
Northwestern, last year's surprise smash, fights to shake off the tag one-hit wonder. And from college football's X-Files, how desperate is San Jose State to beat Cal?
I believe in the evil eye.
You too will believe. Next on College Game Day. Good morning and welcome to College Game Day. Chris Fowler along with it's Lee Corso and our new sidekick Kirk Herbstreit on week number 2. You know, on September's first Saturday, Nebraska's journey begins, perhaps a 4-month march into history. For the Huskers themselves, today just means the first chance at 8 months to smack around folks in different colored uniforms. Lynn Swan is part of ABC's team in Lincoln. He joins us from what looks like a drizzly Memorial Stadium. Swanee?
That's right, Chris. You know, this Nebraska football team is like being in the eye of a hurricane. On the field, everything is great. They got a great team that's deep in talent. It's off the field that the winds of turmoil swirl around this team, and they are deep in trouble. Their star linebacker, Terrell Farley, will miss this ball game as well as next week's because of being ticketed for driving under the influence, and Tom Osborne has not ruled out extending that suspension. Their wingback, backup Lance Brown, also out for disciplinary reasons. For the Michigan State team, their star receiver, Derek Mason, fractured the wrist last week in the win against Purdue. This week he had a screw put in it, and I watched in the locker room as they applied a soft cast to it, tapered it to see if he could play. I also watched him doing warm-up. He caught passes, he caught punts. He says he is determined to play in this ball game. As you can see, it is raining. It's 70 degrees. It seems like everywhere I go this year, Chris, we've got a little rain.
All right, stay down, Swanee. Rain sometimes obviously can be an equalizer, but I don't think it's going to deter Lincoln. 11 a.m. kickoff, that does not mean a mellow crowd there. It's a very intimidating place for any visitor, let alone a true freshman who's expected to carry his team's offensive load. Now, Spartan tailback Cedric Irvin, cousin of Michael Irvin, had 4 touchdowns in his college debut. Forgive the Huskers for not quaking.
He's young, and he had a lot of great plays against Purdue. He hasn't been hit yet, and he hasn't been welcomed to college football yet, so hopefully Saturday we can welcome him to college football.
They have more plays in their offense than any college football team I've ever played against. So it's not straightforward. The ass kicking they give you is usually straightforward, but the plays aren't, and the preparation isn't.
They have a good kicking game. I think that's what he's talking about there. MSU, great when they were forced Purdue into 3rd and long, got to play nickel. The problem is, Kirk, against Nebraska, it's usually 2nd and short.
Well, they better be good this week, starting today. Average per play last year for Nebraska, over 7 yards on first down. 47% of their total offense for the year came on first down. Michigan State, to have a chance today, has got to put Nebraska in 3rd and long situations.
Well, Kirk, I talked to Frank Solitz, the offensive backfield coach in Nebraska. He told me this set of I-backs in Nebraska has the potential to be the best ever. Hello, and they're led by Amon Green. So as a freshman, he averaged 7 yards per carry. He's 225 pounds, runs a 4.440. Jay Sims, 220 pounds, 4.440. He's back from injuries. Damon Benning, co-captain. He can block, he can catch, and he can run. He's the leader. D'Angelo Evans, number 20 here in high school, is a great running back from Wichita, Kansas. He'll play as a true freshman. He'll wear number 4 today. He's 5'7", he's 210 pounds, and he can fly. He's going to be a great player. Nebraska has too much depth, but they win this game, but not as many points as the experts think.
Not as many as the experts.
No.
I like the talent Nebraska has at running back this year, but I think on the other side of the ball, the key of their success over the last couple years has been the play of their defense. Nick Saban told me earlier in the week that one of his primary concerns is the variations that Nebraska can play off their 4-3. You see here, they walk their linebackers up, showing blitz, and at the last second, as soon as the ball is snapped, They're going to drop back into coverage. This is causing confusion for a lot of quarterbacks here. Matt Miller of Kansas State last year, the interception. Another variation, they'll walk up, and this time, again, right at the last second when the ball is snapped, they're going to come. This time, it's going to come up with a big sack, this kind of pressure, and the variations that they can play off that 4-3, it's tough. You blend in the great skill that Nebraska has, it's tough to formulate a game plan. Nick Saban has said they're going to keep things conservative. Hopefully Cedric Irvin and the running game will be able to go with these weather conditions. But I think Nebraska, too much depth, too much talent. They win by more than 4 touchdowns.
You talked about the backs and the defense. Of course, by the way, it's the debut for Scott Frost, the much-awaited quarterback for the Cornhuskers. Now, tonight, the number 2 team faces its first test as Terry Donahue watches from the safety of the broadcast booth. His UCLA replacement, Bob Toledo, enters the world's biggest football stadium with an unproven cast on offense and a revamped defense. So the teams last met in the '94 opener. It was the much sooner than expected baptism for a true freshman named Peyton Manning. He was thrown in there when Jerry Colquitt's knee blew. Phil Fulmer said he saw no fear in Manning's eyes. Manning created no fear in the Bruins defense. Look at the form on the handoff, though. Corso says he knew right then Manning was special. Peyton started 8 games that year. The rest is history in the making.
It's funny to look back on that game and see how far I've come since that game. I really grew up a lot that game, I think, in that entire year. And it's kind of funny to think back how that's when it all started.
Manning, not a concern, but Phil Fulmer told me the biggest concern for the Bruins is the unknown. They have a new defense. On offense, UCLA missing a Jordan and an Abdul-Jabbar. So they missed some points in rebounding, Lee.
Well, Chris, to beat the full court press or this Tennessee's quick defense, you got to run directly at it with a big back. And UCLA has that guy, Skip Hicks. Skip is 225 pounds, runs a 40 and 4.5. He was UCLA's leading rusher as a freshman. He hurt his knee in track, and he's now back at 100%. He's a great running back. But UCLA's problem is not scoring. It's stopping Tennessee's pass offense. I think Tennessee wins this ball game, but I expect them to rally in the second half to win it.
Hicks can bring Rambo, the Terminator from Tinseltown. It's not going to matter. I think the key to Tennessee's entire season will be the play of their defense. They've upgraded their secondary by getting senior free safety Jason Parker back from suspension. Parker is a tremendous player with great experience going back to '94 here against Danny Warfel and the Florida Gators. Made a big play with the interception. It's very important to play as a quarterback on the secondary because he has to make the proper calls and also lead that entire defense. I think the one thing here, you return to many starters in the secondary, Raymond Austin, Terry Fair, and also Torrey Noel. It really solidifies that secondary. It's important they gain some confidence today against a UCLA team before the big showdown on the 21st.
Fulmer also knows another key is the offensive line. Peyton Manning not touched by UNLV in the opener, but that was UNLV. I'm not sure UCLA has a good enough pass rush to get to him either today. Meanwhile, Tennessee, they're tackling UCLA. The team that they will meet in that big showdown, Florida, is tuning up with Georgia Southern. Now, Lee, this follows a very lethargic opener against Southwest Louisiana. Now a 1AA team, probably a better team than UTEP, actually. UTEP dropped this game and forced them to schedule Georgia Southern. But is this what the Gators need to get ready for Tennessee?
Well, Chris, most coaches feel if you play a tough opponent, your team steps it up a notch in speed and intensity of contact. Now, if the Florida-Tennessee game was played next week, advantage Tennessee. But there's an off week. And I think that off week negates everything, Chris. And I think it's now an even game between Florida and Tennessee.
Fulmer thinks it's an edge for Tennessee, provided they beat UCLA. They got to get by that one. The story for Florida, Danny Werfel, coming under heavy criticism from Steve Spurrier, who says he's been below average the last 2 games. Going back to the Fiesta Bowl, he's imposed a gag order. Practice is closed. I know you think he'll bounce back this
No,
week.
you could beat Georgia Southern.
I don't know, my friend. Coming up, we'll talk Crimson Tide. The offense didn't throw many strikes against Bowling Green. Quarterback controversy there, but not in Syracuse. Donovan McNabb, his playmaker instincts, the big reason Syracuse is a title contender. We'll visit with him.
College Game Day is brought to you by American Honda, celebrating their 25th anniversary of selling cars in America.
Quick pause for other sports news. Last night at Camden Yards, exactly 1 year after Cal Ripken's record, Eddie Murray becomes the 3rd player in Major League history to reach the 500 home run and 3,000 hit mark. He joins Hank Aaron and Willie Mays. But the O's lose in 12 innings to the Tigers 5-4. The White Sox also lost. Baltimore remains 1 game back in the American League wild card race. Here's the scene as Brett Butler comes to the plate for the first time since his comeback from cancer. His wife, the entire crowd on their feet. Bottom of the 8th, the score tied. Eric Karros flies to right. Butler on 3rd. Tags. Comes home. beats the throw. That's the go-ahead run as the Dodgers win 2-1 on an emotional night at Dodger Stadium. Osuna gets the victory. Now back to college football. It's a debut for the title contender Florida State. Bobby Bowden, he says a lot of funny things. For example, he says his team is primed to be upset by visiting Duke. Yeah, just like the Macarena is primed to become the national anthem. Last year's debacle, it was 54-12 at halftime. Some Noles starters like Dunn in there in the fourth quarter. Goldsmith went off on Bowden. This year, he might not get 70. 4 guys suspended, and Thad Busby has a sore arm, Lee.
Thad Busby has not looked sharp in practice. The reason he's going against Florida State's defense. Today, he goes against Duke. Enough said.
I take it you like the Noles. Oklahoma hosts TCU in his debut. John Blake has 38 players who will dress for the first time in a game uniform, that is.
Well, John Blake is going to the I set this year, and really a host of running backs led by senior James Allen. Love to get more carries this year. John Blake gets his first career win as Oklahoma's head coach.
After stealing souvenirs from Georgia's new hedges Saturday, Southern Miss next tries to take down the Tide in Legion Field. Now, they won last week Bama style. 3 field goals, a safety, and tough defense. They are fearless. I'll tell you what, Lee, going back to your era, all the way back to that era, Southern Miss, then known as Mississippi Southern, they were tough. They were beating the heavyweights.
They were always good football teams. In fact, one year they beat Alabama, and we beat them. Just thought I'd mention it. Alabama's offense scored 21 points last week against Bowling Green, but they were sluggish. Quarterback Freddie Kitchen will play again and start the game, but watch for Alabama to use quarterback Warren Faust, a kid from Oklahoma. He can throw the football. The reason why they're going to play him, not only is he a good passer, but he's an excellent scrambler. He had 27 yards rushing last week against Southern Mississippi. Southern Mississippi is going to blitz Alabama just like they did Georgia. Watch Faust, a scrambler, to beat that blitz. Alabama wins by 2 touchdowns with Faust as the hero.
Alabama lost 1 scholarship to the NCAA for sanctions this week. They don't want to lose a scholarship in a football game in the same week. Still ahead, we'll have a missing person story that just may haunt San Jose State. Have you seen the Hex Lady? And have you heard of Cedric Shaw? You should have. He's good, and he's Iowa's main weapon as they brace for Arizona today. This is his 386th game in Division 1A, more than any active coach, against 1-0 Arizona. Adrian Carson, part of our crew, set to call the game. He sets the stage from Kinnick Stadium. Adrian?
Well, Chris, as Hayden starts his 17th season here at Iowa today, he does so against an old nemesis, not Arizona head coach Dick Tomey, but rather the man Tomey has hired to coordinate his offense, Homer Smith. In his 38th year of coaching, Homer is still one of the great offensive minds in the game, and he's attempting to jumpstart an offense that over the last several years has taken a backseat to the more highly regarded Desert Swarm defense. Now, Hayden remembers the 1986 Rose Bowl when Homer coached the UCLA offense to a 45-28 drubbing of the Hawkeyes. And ever since then, Hayden has kept a book on Homer's tendencies, and that's a good thing because in last week's Arizona win over UTEP, Homer kept everything pretty vanilla, so this week the Hawkeyes didn't have a lot to look at on film. We don't have to look at a lot of film to know what Hayden's going to do today. With more, the gentleman who will call today's game, Brad and Gary.
All right, Adrian, that's right. The book, it might be long, but you can have just one volume over 35 years, I think, with Hayden Fry.
Yeah, you really don't have to study a lot of film to know what Hayden Fry is going to do. He likes to run a balanced offense. On every play, he's going to be in a formation that he can either run or pass the ball. He's got some great players on this team. 2 deep. He says the best 2 deep he's had in 35 years of coaching.
All right, they've got some offensive linemen, Chris, that they have to replace, and a tight end, but other than that, they look strong at the skill spots, as Gary said.
As for Arizona, guys, they dominated UTEP in the opener. So what? Does Desert Swarm still live?
It maybe still lives, but it doesn't have Brandon Sanders in the secondary and Chuck Osborne and especially Teddy Bruschi up front here.
They don't, and I think what they learned from their defensive Desert Swarm is you just can't do it with the defense. They didn't have much of an offense last year. That's why they brought in a new look there. They've got to get some yards, but this is a better secondary. Chris McAllister is an upgrade. They hope to intercept some balls. They already had 2 last week.
And Joe Salavea on that defensive front, Chris, says, hey, you know, Bruschi and those guys set the tone. We don't plan on letting them down, but maybe their defense will be good enough, but they can't have dead calm on offense, guys.
Now, 23 points against UTEP does not bode well. Guys, we look forward to it right after game day. And still ahead on our show, the story behind the hype of Donovan McNabb, the Syracuse quarterback, set to battle the heels today. Plus, Amon Green and a stable of explosive runners for Nebraska. We'll talk about an emotional day in Lincoln. More on that coming up.
Are you scouting, huh?
I got to scout you today and tomorrow. I got to find out what the hell you're doing.
Bob had 11 years
of offensive coaching experience as a coordinator between Oregon and Texas A&M, and so he was out of work at the time and available, so I hired him. And 2 years later, he's head coach at UCLA. It's a marvelous story.
The players approve. In fact, during the search for Donahue's successor, at least one lobbied Bruins athletic director Pete Dallas in support of Toledo.
Basically what I said was, whatever you do, you need to make sure that Coach Toledo stays around.
Take the shirt in for all players.
Yeah, this is discipline here, Coach.
As I told them, they're like my sons. I'm gonna scold them and I'm gonna get after them, but I'm gonna love them.
His players love Toledo's strategy, too. He insists trick plays will become commonplace, and the pace on both sides of the ball more frenetic than the Donahue days.
It's a very exciting offense. I mean, we can score any time in the game. You never know what we're going to run. I mean, we have a lot of different trick plays, I guess you can say. Not really trick plays, but it surprised a lot of people. It's just a wide-open offense, really.
We're going to go 100 miles an hour, let's put it that way. I don't know if we need any new light bulbs for the scoreboard, all right? But, we've told our kids that we're going to let it rip. We want to go out and not be afraid to fail.
A motto that will be tested from the first game of Toledo's tenure. He'll take one of the youngest teams in recent UCLA memory to second-ranked Tennessee, without a single senior starting on offense and only 13 seniors all told. In Los Angeles, Brent Weber, CNN Sports.
How's that ankle, Chad?
And it's time for another break on the show, but coming up next, we'll take a look ahead to some of the other games of interest on the schedule today. Penn State's Curtis Enos ran wild in their opener, but Louisville brings something different to the table. Could it be enough to actually knock off the Nittany Lions? We'll find out.
It delivers this battle cry. Gentlemen, if we bust our guts, we could be the next Northwestern. A year ago, the coach would have been sent on forced psychiatric leave. Now, forget St. Jude, the Wildcats have become the patron saints of lost causes. The Cats' encore season starts at Wake Forest, a weekly underdog given little chance of ever escaping the depths of his conference. Sound familiar? For Northwestern, adversity sparked greatness. Handling prosperity is the challenge now. What lies ahead is hazy for the Purple. A Big Ten title still hasn't earned the respect of the conference pundits.
We would hope that our efforts would have been for a little more than, being in the middle of the pack.
I mean, you could look at it two ways. You can look, hey, we're fifth. It's a lot better than 11th. Or you can say, hey, we're the Big Ten champs. Why aren't we number one? But, those guys are so-called experts, and in a way, they're right. We only won for 1 year. We haven't gone out and put 5, 6, 7, years of winning together.
But the Wildcats had put together decades of losing. The reversal was so sudden, so heady. How could a motivational master get his team to dispose of last year's accolades? Literally.
And I spent a lot of time thinking about and devising a way to symbolically do that, because I know that's what had to be done.
Before spring ball, he brought a couple garbage cans up on the stage, and he had put on like a big poster board everyone's awards that they had won, and his was about 3 things long, and he read everyone's award off one by one that they had won, and he read off every Coach of the Year award that he won, and then all the guys were up front, and he's like, let's give everybody applause for that, and everybody clapped, and we had, I don't know how many guys were up in front, and then he brought the garbage cans out and said, 95's over, guys, put the awards in the garbage, and it was kind of just like a wake-up call.
In order to restore our humility and our hunger, that's what had to happen.
After Barnett's trash talk, the Cats attacked Mount Trashmore for a self-supervised boot camp, even tougher than the one last summer.
Yeah, it was just as hard. There were people falling, rolling down the hill, throwing up and stuff. I personally didn't throw up.
There were some times over the summer when some of our senior leaders got on some guys for not showing up for workouts, and it's not a hey, I'm getting in your face. It's, hey, do you want to get better? Do you want to go back to the Rose Bowl? The choice is up to you.
Well, I think your best teams are always teams that are accountable to each other. And that's the way I want this team to be. I want to see how it develops. I want to see how it takes on different challenges and adversities. We've already had some. And if this team's accountable to itself, then we'll have a good football team.
Only by winning again and again can the Cats earn Big Ten respect, a sensitive subject for Barnett, who seems fueled by past snubs. After a routine rout by Michigan in '92, most of Gary Muller's staff waved off the customary handshake.
I felt like we at least deserved the respect of shaking our hands after the game. And when they didn't, I probably overreacted, and I was a jerk by calling them jerks.
So now the former long shots, driven for so long by the hunger for payback, face a bunch of teams seeking revenge themselves. Can the Cats remain the hunter, not the hunted?
They see us as a team they have to prepare for, and I know that. And I think there's probably a little bit of this. I think we ought to knock Northwestern back to where they belong, in last place. And I think there's probably a little bit of that out there, too.
What is good enough this year?
That's a tough question. I don't know. You know, I really can't tell you.
What's good enough? Rose Bowl champion? That's good enough. Undefeated, that's good enough.
Autry, the only guy to say it's Rose Bowl or bust. Now, they've said they're hungrier this year than last year. They got to show it. That starts against Wake Forest.
Well, when you go to Northwestern, the one thing that is different, Gary Barnett and his staff have done an outstanding job of getting their kids to believe in the system. The system is expecting to win. How do you get that? Preparation, hard work, and tasting a little bit of that success. Now, this year's team, I'm not saying they're going to be able to achieve and get some of the breaks that last year's team got. They're hungrier and talking to these players and the coaches because there's continuing lack of respect. I like this club. I believe in them.
Well, Kirk,
they're not going to win the Rose Bowl, but I believe in them.
Yeah, but there's a difference between success and excellence, and let me tell you the difference. Success is fleeting. It's unstable. Success is achieving the goal for the first time. Georgia Tech is a perfect example. They won the national title a couple of years later, 1-10. They were successful. Excellence is doing the right thing over and over again and having success over and over again. Alabama, Nebraska, Penn State. That's the situation. I think Nebraska's a good football program. I don't think they can recruit enough quality athletes to be excellent over and over again. I think they'll be successful, but not excellent.
Well, the key for Northwestern, when Autry, Fitzgerald, Bates, the talented nucleus goes on, can they recruit? They had a pretty good recruiting class in week 1. In the game against Wake Forest, Hudefe Ismaili, I know you wanted to say that name.
No,
he's been suspended. The secondary is a question against all those passes that Wake Forest is going to throw. On our on-campus roundup this week, the early returns on new coaches, new rules, and a new conference. A debut for all things new in Division I's Week 1, including a potentially ominous omen for a new super conference.
This is amazing, like it's a monsoon right now.
But even a 48-minute lightning delay couldn't keep Texas from swamping Missouri by 30 in the second ever Big 12 game. New coaches started the season 2-6, with Jim Donnan's loss at his new home between the hedges of Georgia the most notable. And fears that the new overtime rule would force more ties in regulation may be coming true, with 2 games decided in the extra frame already. This after only 9 games were played to ties all of last season. Georgia Tech kicks off its season this week against North Carolina State on the road again. Only fitting after the Rec rambled to North Georgia College for their August workouts when the Olympics forced them off campus. Bobby Dodd Stadium wouldn't feel much like home anyway. With the start of classes delayed for Olympic cleanup, the Jackets play 3 of their 5 home games before students hit their first book. Quarterback Bob Bees lived through 12 straight losses at Ohio University. So, no stranger to losing, he transferred to NAIA Rocky Mountain College and took the helm of a team that had lost 41 straight. But the Bears and the Bees put an end to all that on Saturday, stinging Black Hills State 70-8 behind 5 touchdown passes from the new quarterback.
I'm just glad that these guys finished up and got this monkey off their back in a big way.
The back of Division II Cheney was on the verge of breaking under the weight of a 38-year slump against in-state rival Westchester of Pennsylvania. Westchester did nothing to relieve the pain, blocking 3 kicks, recovering 1 for a touchdown. The Golden Rams blanked the Wolves 60-0, running their all-time mark against Cheney to 31-1. Up next, the very strange connection between Casey Stengel's Yankees, a mysterious Sicilian known as Josephine, and a desperate college football team. Stay tuned or risk the hex.